Emily Ashworth stood at the window of the cottage, gazing out at the garden and drinking her morning tea. She loved living in rural England. Even though she hardly ever saw anyone, she never felt lonely. She listened to the birds singing and watched as rabbits hopped across her lawn. She had never married, but she didn't regret it. Instead, she had chosen to dedicate her life to looking after the cottage and its contents. She had felt very privileged and special when Lord Blackwood had asked her to take care of his property. Even though she was sometimes a little concerned about what was hidden there, she knew that it was of immense importance. Whenever she began to feel concerned, she would force herself to push the thoughts to the back of her mind and get on with the task of taking care of the cottage. She finished her cup of tea and put it into the sink to wash later. There would be plenty of time to do the chores, but the first thing she had to do was to check on Lord Blackwood's collection. As she did every morning, she went downstairs to the underground vault to check on its contents. As she walked amongst the artifacts, she marveled at some of the things she saw. There were plants and animals that she had never even known had existed, weird creatures of different shapes and sizes. She never questioned how they had come to be there. She just accepted that it was her job to keep them safe until Lord Blackwood could return. When she reached the section where the books were kept, she picked one up and opened it. A cloud of dust sprang from its pages, causing her to sneeze. She loved the smell of the old books and loved reading them, her mind devouring the information held within their pages. "Come on, Emily, you don't have time to be reading now." She closed the book up and carefully put it back in its place, taking care not to dislodge the books at either side. She had almost got to the end of the vault, checking everything as she went, when she heard a loud knocking coming from upstairs. "I wonder who that can be. We don't get many visitors around here." Emily went back upstairs, locking the door to the vault behind her. When she reached the top of the stairs, whoever it was started hammering on the door again. Hold on, I'll be there in a second." When she opened the door, she saw 3 men in suits standing there. 5 days later, she died of heart failure. Welcome back to SCP Exposed. Today we bring you the anomalous organism SCP-1867. But before I go on, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss out on any SCP stories. SCP-1867 is a nudibranch of the species Nembrotha kubaryana, otherwise known as a variable neon slug. It measures approximately 11.7 centimeters in length. There are no physical differences between SCP-1867 and any other member of its species. The subject is sapient and capable of telepathic communication with the same range as a typical human voice. It identifies itself as Lord Theodore Thomas Blackwood, a British explorer and naturalist, and speaks with terminology and style appropriate to late 19th century England. It is generally friendly and cooperative with researchers. SCP-1867 makes repeated claims of past exploits and accomplishments, including service in the Second Opium War, expeditions to remote regions of the world, and encounters with various rare creatures and uncontacted peoples. Despite the questionable validity of many of its claims, SCP-1867 has shown in-depth knowledge of geography, zoology, botany, archaeology, anthropology, and linguistics relating to its claimed regions of exploration, as well as more esoteric fields such as obscure mythology, mysticism, and cryptozoology. SCP-1867 does not seem to realize or willfully ignores any inconsistencies in its own recollections, as well as any events or information dating after approximately 1910. The subject's hazard rating is green. It is to be contained in a small aquatic specimen tank. Environment and care requirements should be identical to that of non-anomalous members of the species. Associated items will be placed in secure storage Vault 16, and amenities available upon request. All descriptions of anomalous persons, places, or objects made by SCP-1867 must be correlated by at least 2 other sources before resources may be allocated for further research. When requested to give proof of its exploits, SCP-1867 provided an address in rural England, claiming that it would be more than willing to donate its collection that could be found there. Investigation of the address led to a cottage owned by one Miss Emily Ashworth, who claimed to be keeping the house for Lord Blackwood. Further questioning failed to reveal any details of SCP-1867's nature or origins beyond what information the subject had already provided. Miss Ashworth died of heart failure 5 days after Foundation agents began investigations. Investigation of the cottage revealed an underground vault containing over 3,000 artifacts, zoological and botanical specimens, a library containing over 5,000 items, and a functioning, if outdated, laboratory. All materials within the collection were cataloged, removed, and relocated by the Foundation over the course of 3 weeks. A full listing of items recovered from SCP-1867's collection may be found in Document 1867-VL. A summary of noteworthy items is as follows: 116 unknown species of plants, 107 unknown species of insects, 35 handwritten journals containing recordings of events described by the subject. Written accounts match with verbal, save variations and exaggerations on the part of SCP-1867 in retelling, and have been dated to the appropriate time period of the events described. 20 kilograms of processed opium. Collection of firearms of make and model not correlating with any known manufacturers, including 3 wide-bore muskets marked as Dr. B.T. Moth's effective particle destabilizers. These items are non-functional. Detailed globes of Mercury, Venus, Mars, and the Galilean moons, accompanied by notes detailing possible paths of surface exploration. A heavily modified 4-seat horse carriage containing instruments of unknown purpose. A note attached to the door reads, "On the Fritz, speak with Henry," in handwriting matching that of the journals. 4 agents were killed after the discovery of an unknown object caused it to become activated. When questioned about the item, SCP-1867's response was, "I did warn you to be careful around my collection. That thing nearly took my head off in walking back in '97 when I found it." On the 5th of June 2012, one of the Foundation's leading agents, Dr. Wilson, conducted an interview with SCP-1867. The following is a transcript of the interview. "Good morning, Lord Blackwood," said Dr. Wilson. "Ah, good morning, Doctor. Wonderful to see you. Come in, have yourself a seat. Now, if I remember correctly, the last time you were here, I was telling you about the time I was captured by the Ubula tribe of the Congo," replied SCP-1867. "Actually, I have some questions about that story today. Our research turned up no trace of those people. They don't seem to exist." "Of course not. There weren't any of the Ubula left after the village was attacked by Mokili Membe. I still regret not being able to bag that monster when I had the chance. It is a persistently elusive creature." That's a stretch, sir. Do you have any corroborating evidence? Just to make sure what you're saying is true. There's always a chance that your vault was filled with fakes." "Nonsense. I would never fabricate any of my work. Why, it's against the very heart of being a naturalist. While I am repeatedly amazed by your institution here, you seem to be missing the explorer's spirit. When I scaled the Himalayas in search of the monks of the Golden Mountain, did I worry about what others had said about them? Of course not. I went and found out for myself, climbed those mountains with my own 2 hands." Dr. Wilson paused for a while before continuing. "You do realize that you're a sea slug, right?" "Good heavens, boy. Have you been drinking? That's utterly ridiculous. If you can't be bothered to be sensible, I have no reason to speak with you. Go get yourself a nice cup of tea and sober up." What did you think about that SCP case? Please leave your comments below.